Welcome to the Revolution of Purpose podcast. I'm your host, John Street, and each week we bring you conversations with thought leaders, entrepreneurs, and individuals who have aligned their life with purpose and created extraordinary results.
So I'm going to live through it and accept it radically with grace and hope and love.
I would be proud to be in this council.
It was an honor. I had so much fun.
Tune in every Monday for the Revolution of Purpose solo show and every Thursday for Revolution of Purpose conversations. Welcome back to the Revolution of Purpose podcast. I'm John Street, mindset coach, speaker, author of Revolution of Purpose, and someone who is passionate about helping people identify their purpose, ignite their transformation, and implement their vision. Today, I want to share with you something that I think is very exciting. It is a new principle that I've discovered that will help you get unstuck and move forward with consistency. And I'm calling this the momentum spiral. The missing piece of be, do, have. I talked about this a little bit on the last solo show, but I've really been digging down deep into this over this last week. And I've realized, even though I've taught the concepts of be, do, have for years, there are so many people that I know that get stuck in this, and they get stuck in that becoming. They get stuck in the initial part of be, do, have. So if you're not familiar with the concept, it's very famous in personal development work. But be, do, have says that first you become the person that is your goal achieved self, and then you will naturally start to do the things that that person does, and then you'll have the things that that person has. It's taught on like a linear be, then do, then have. And in fact, if you've listened to this podcast for any length of time, you've heard me say that, who you are determines what you do, and what you do determines what you have. And that is absolutely true. I absolutely believe that. But the more I study this, the more I'm learning that there are a lot of different teachers out there. Some who are identifying identity as the major key to change. Some identify mindset, thinking your way there. Some emphasize action and how important action is. Some teachers are out there emphasizing self-image and how that self-image is the thing that's going to change your life. There are other teachers out there emphasizing faith, and some emphasizing habits. Some are out there saying, just think your way to a new self. And some are out there saying, no, just do it. You've got to start doing the things. And what I'm realizing is all of these different voices are not actually disagreeing with one another. They're just describing different parts of the same process. What if be, do, have is not some straight line? What if it is not some linear time thing that we're looking at? What if be, do, have is part of a spiral? What if identity, action, and results are constantly creating identity, action, and results? And what if understanding that could explain why some people transform their lives while others stay stuck for years? Today, I want to share with you what I am calling the principle of directional momentum. And the model that illustrates it is the momentum spiral. Let's dive in. One of the biggest traps that we see in personal development is waiting. People want to wait until we feel ready. Wait until we're thinking like we're ready. Wait until we feel confident. Wait until we think confident. Wait until we feel like the person that is doing the thing. And we've all done that. We do this in different areas of our life, whether we realize it or not. I'll start the business when I feel like an entrepreneur. I'll write the book when I feel like a writer. I'll get healthy when I feel like a healthy person. The problem is that many identities are formed through action, not before action, but after action. Let me break this down with a pretty simple example. Let's talk about learning to swim. You don't become a swimmer by reading books about learning to swim. You don't become a swimmer by watching YouTube videos about swimming. You don't even become a swimmer by saying affirmations that you are a swimmer. No, at some point, you get in the water. At some point, either someone teaches you lessons or you start getting in there and moving your arms and moving your legs. And when you get in the water, you start to gather evidence. You start to float. You start to kick. You start to move forward. And eventually your mind says, okay, maybe I'm becoming a swimmer. The identity of becoming a swimmer is following the evidence of your action. We cannot just think our way to our new identity. We can't just feel our way to our new identity. As I said in the last solo show, being of be, do, have is an action verb. And there's even more to that. There has to be a do before you get to the be. There has to be action that helps you get to that new becoming, to that new identity. This reminds me of something that James Clear teaches in Atomic Habits. Really wonderful book. And in that book, he says, every action you take is a vote for the type of person you wish to become. Think about that. He's not saying every thought, but every action is a vote. One action does not create identity, but repeated actions create evidence. And that evidence creates belief, and that belief creates identity. James Clear is describing a key component of this momentum spiral, that action influences your identity. You can't just think about becoming a swimmer. You can't just meditate about becoming a swimmer. I love meditation. I love visualization. It is absolutely huge. But it is just an additional component to that becoming. If you don't take any action along with it, then all you're going to be is someone that wishes they could be a swimmer. You have to get in the water. Now let's talk about a different group of teachers out there. These are the action-oriented crowd. These are the athletes, the coaches, the Navy SEALs, the just do it people. You know, these are the people like Mel Robbins, or people like many of the elite athletic coaches, people who say, you know, take that first step. Just do it. Just start before you're ready. Action creates clarity. And for years, I thought that this sounded different from the identity-based teachings, but now I think they're describing another part of the same spiral. The Jim Rohns of the world who are out there saying, get up every morning at 5 a.m. and win your day. These are important teachings. These are teachings that absolutely, inspire me to want to get up early and win my day. But they're not different than the mindset teachings of Bob Proctor's and others who say, well, no, first you've got to envision your day. They're just saying a different part of the same spiral, because action really does create clarity. Action creates evidence. Action creates feedback. Action creates learning. Action creates confidence. It's not the other way around. You don't become confident and then act. Often you act, and then you get the confidence. The confidence follows your action. Think about leadership for that matter. John Maxwell often says that leadership is something that's developed, that's not granted. Nobody wakes up one day and they feel like a leader, but they begin leading. They make mistakes. They learn from their mistakes. They influence people, and eventually they develop that leadership identity. Action precedes identity. The identity strengthens future action, and the spiral just continues and continues and continues. And you may say, well, John, when we're talking about action, what about the times that things don't go well? Or what about the times when things mess up? That's all part of the spiral. That's all part of the universe making you become the person you want to be. By taking action and then failing miserably, you're learning. And then you get up and realize I never failed, because you never fail. Everything is happening for you. Nothing's happening to you. And so you're going through this spiral of momentum again. And you get to control which way this spiral goes. You're always in this momentum spiral. So if you take an action and it doesn't go well, and then all of a sudden you start saying, well, then I'm not that person. I'm not the person that can do this. I can't do this. What was I thinking? And you get into fear, then you're still in a momentum spiral. It's just you're spiraling out of control. You're spiraling into depression. You're spiraling into guilt and into shame. But if you take that setback and you say, yeah, it knocked me down and that was horrible. But it's like that Chumbawamba song, you know, I get knocked down, but I get up again. You're never going to keep me down. Then that momentum continues to build. What can I learn from this and how can I move forward? And that's how this momentum spiral continues to work for you and getting you to your goal achieved life instead of working against you. And so here's where Maxwell Maltz enters the conversation, because I want to talk to you a little bit about image and the feedback loop. In psychocybernetics, Maltz taught that people act in accordance with their self-image. And I believe he was absolutely right too. Because where does self-image come from? It comes from our experience. It comes from our evidence. It comes from our perception, our interpretation, our action, our results. A person who repeatedly experiences success begins seeing themselves differently. A person who repeatedly experiences failure often does too. A self-image that influences future behavior is based on how you're seeing yourself. It's the behavior that creates more results. The results reinforce that self-image. And this really brings me to the principle of directional momentum itself. Every thought, every action, every identity, and every result contributes momentum toward a future outcome. The key word here is direction, because the spiral is always running. Always. The question is never, am I in a momentum spiral? The question is, what direction is this momentum spiral moving? Is this moving toward abundance, or is it moving toward scarcity? Is it moving toward purpose, or is it moving toward apathy? Is it moving toward physical health, or is it moving toward physical disease? Is it moving toward connection or toward isolation? Toward your dream life, or is it moving away from it? The spiral doesn't care. It simply amplifies the direction that you're pointing it in. And this really explains something that I've noticed for years. Please pardon me while I interrupt your podcast with a word from your sponsor, me. If you're enjoying today's episode and you're looking for more motivation, mindset strategies, and purpose-driven content, then I would love to connect with you. You can follow me on my social media platforms. Instagram is John Street Official, so is YouTube and TikTok. Facebook and LinkedIn is John Street. I also have a business page on Facebook, John Street Mindset Coach. And if you've ever found yourself asking questions like, why am I here? Or am I living my purpose? How do I get unstuck in life? Or how do I take my life to the next level? Then I would love to invite you to schedule a free purpose and clarity call with me. This is an actual call with me, not with someone from my team. During this live complimentary coaching session, we'll talk about where you are and where you want to go, what may be standing in your way. This is my opportunity to serve you and help you gain greater clarity, direction, and momentum. To connect with me, book a call, or learn more about my Revelation of Purpose coaching program, you can visit johnstreet.org. And now, let's get back to this podcast. Success compounds, but so does discouragement. One small, healthy choice leads to another. One workout leads to another. 1 pound loss leads to another. One encouraging result creates another action. And suddenly, someone is living a completely different life. One small step toward a business you've always wanted to do leads to a success. One small step toward repairing a relationship, seeing a counselor, helping your marriage leads to one other thing. And before you know it, you're leading a different life of encouragement that's taking you toward the area that you want to go in life. But then the opposite can happen too. One disappointment becomes a story. One story becomes a belief. And then that belief becomes your identity. And then that identity creates more disappointing actions. And then the spiral begins moving downward. It's the same principle. It's the same momentum spiral. It's just going in a different direction. We get to harness the direction this is moving in. One teacher who has influenced me deeply is Neville Goddard. Neville taught that we must occupy the state of the wish fulfilled. Many people interpret this as merely thinking differently, but I believe the deeper invitation is to begin living from that state. Act from it. choose from it, move from it, and every action taken from that state strengthens the state. And here, again, we see this spiral. Identity influencing action, action reinforcing identity. And so it continues. So after years of teaching be, do, have, here's what I've come to believe. The be, do, have principle is not wrong, and those who teach it are spot on. The action-oriented speakers of the world are not wrong. They are absolutely spot on. The self-image teachers in the world are not wrong. The leadership teachers in the world are not wrong. The habit experts are not wrong. They are all correct, but they are all describing a different aspect of a larger process, and that process that I call the momentum spiral. You don't think your way into a new identity. You act your way into a new identity, and then that identity begins acting through you. For me personally, this certainly happened in my weight loss journey. When I was 350 pounds, I didn't just sit there and meditate about how I would look at 230 pounds. I first had to believe that I could do it. So I took a walk. And then I took another walk, and then I took another walk, and then I started going to a gym, and then I hired a trainer. And each result that I saw, each pound that I lost, each time I showed up for myself, I created more evidence that I could be the person I wanted to be. And that caused me to do more aligned actions. And then I started to have the results, which led me back into the spiral to do more things that made me feel like the person I was going to be. Instead of be, do, have, I was in the cycle of doing the things that led to the identity. And the identity caused me to do aligned actions, which led to the results, which caused me to do more things that reinforced the identity. And before you knew it, I'd lost 120 pounds. The first action creates the direction. And then the repeated action creates the momentum, and the momentum determines where the spiral leads. The question is not whether you're in the spiral. You are always in a momentum spiral. The question is, what direction is it moving? Is it getting you toward your goal achieved life, or is it taking you back into old patterns, old loops, old paradigms and ways of thinking? What action will you take today to begin creating momentum toward the life you truly desire? I'm John Street, and I'm so glad that you watched this episode today. If it resonated with you, please like, share, please subscribe. Help me get this word out there to help everybody know that they have a momentum spiral that they can put in action towards their goals. Thanks so much, and I'll see you next time.